My name is Jillian Perrick, and I'm a lover of all things orange chocolate. Think One Tree Hill is way better than the OC. And as a person who stutters, I hope to one day inspire women with invisible disabilities to overcome their limiting beliefs and start the business of their dreams, just like I did. I'm a mindset coach specializing in imposter syndrome, helping women beat their inner imposter using neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and time techniques. And this is the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. This podcast is for you if you're an entrepreneurial woman trying to navigate the online space with a lot of passion and a lot of uncertainty. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. This podcast will take you from imposter to empowered with ninja-like brain hacks, easy to implement strategies, and uplifting real talk to make you feel like everything you want is in reach. Let's get started, girlfriend. Hey, everybody. So we have Christina Willis on the podcast today. She's a fellow Canadian. She lives in Ontario as well. And she is a Pinterest expert. So I really wanted someone to come on and talk about a more organic way to get eyes on your stuff that's not just Instagram. Sometimes I feel like that's so basic, and like I really wanted somebody who had a little bit more of a perspective when it came to if you want eyes on your stuff, if you want a more organic methodology, but Pinterest is definitely a long-term game, and we actually talk about that. And we talk about how if you're a new business owner or relatively new, what Pinterest can actually do for you and how you can get started. Even if you don't want to get on it right away, there's really cool things that you can do for it. So we also talk about the Black Lives Matter awakening / movement that took place in the beginning of June that is still happening as we speak, rightfully so. And we talk about how in the industry there is a very big lack of representation when it comes to Black women and people of color. And this is something that kind of came to my eyes when Simone McNish, I'm going to give her a shout out, when she did an Instagram post about how she saw this panel or this summit and it was all women who were white. And she called it out. And this was before all of these things happen. And then the murder of George Floyd took place, and it just erupted a huge awakening for the Black community in terms of recognizing that they were not being treated with respect. And this caused an uproar in regards to the online industry. And for me personally, this is the From Imposter to Empowered podcast, and I'm talking about this from the perspective of me, a white woman. For me, I thought I was doing everything to be inclusive, and this really showed me that I was not, that it's not enough to just be like, I'm inclusive to myself. It had to be shown through the work that I was doing. It had to be shown through how I was involving myself in the online space, because naturally we look for people who look like us. And you may not think that this is a problem, but what happens to the people of color who come into this industry and don't see people like them doing the things that they're doing? It's the same thing with a kid watching television and not seeing himself or herself in any of the people who are on commercials or in TV shows. Representation matters, and it matters so much in the online space, and we have to be, as white people, we need to be inclusive and mindful of this. And this does not take away from us. It does not take away from our power or our voices. It just means amplifying those who may not have a voice and being that ally and moving forward with that respect that we are all equal. We all deserve to be treated equally, and we all deserve a voice, especially when it comes to the online space. So we had a really cool conversation around that as well. And this is just a really great episode. We were just like loving it. There were so many really good tidbits in there, not just about Pinterest, but about business in general. Love it. She's amazing, and you guys are going to love the episode, and let me know what you think. So hello, everybody. Welcome back to the pod. Thank you so much for being here, Christina. I'm so excited to have you on this podcast. And first, I just want to ask you, tell us who you are, what you do, and how you got started.
Okay, so everybody, my name is Christina. I am a Pinterest strategist and consultant. And what a Pinterest strategist or consultant does is that we look at business owners' Pinterest accounts and really figure out a good marketing strategy on how business owners can expand their reach and generate more leads, and really just bring in their target audience more to just understand their brand and their business. And I mean, the ultimate goal for any business owner is to essentially make more income off of the increased leads. But we really work with business owners' goals to really just get that connection that they really want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like it was always something that I kind of wanted to tap into, but I was kind of afraid of it because there's so much attached to it, and it felt like there was so much work to be done on the back end beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, starting out, depending on where the business owner's account is, starting out, it is going to be a little bit of work. If I mean, some business owners prefer to hand off their account, say, please just take it and
Yeah.
run with it and let the magical fairies of Pinterest do its job. And then there are some business owners who would really like a solid strategy done by you or like a Pinterest strategist.
Right.
And then they can implement it themselves or they hand it off to their team to carry out those actions.
Cool. So would you recommend, depending on where somebody is in their business, where do you think somebody should be when they get into like using this as a tool for their business? Like in the beginning, maybe a little bit when they're a little bit more established. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think it's the best to get it right from the jump. So when you're starting out with your business, um, that's where because you can really craft a solid strategy. I mean, many times there are certain business owners who've been in business for X amount of years and they've used their strategy, and then they come to you and you try to shift their mindset on, what might be best for them, and they kind of have a little bit of resistance to that. Not all, but there are some. But getting it right from the start, I feel like you have such a great opportunity, because I mean, the sky's the limit for you and that business owner, and just like all the ideas and things that you could try and test out.
Yeah.
It's best in the beginning budding stages.
Yeah, for sure. So, how would you differentiate between like social media, like Instagram and all that stuff, to Pinterest specific? Like, what does Pinterest have that other social media things don't?
So Pinterest is, I mean, Pinterest is lumped into the I guess the realm of the overarching umbrella of social media. And it's just because that's just how it happened, I guess. But Pinterest is different in the sense that it is a search engine. So when you have Google and you're searching for something in Google and you type in, let's say, puppies, and then before you can even finish typing what you really want, there's a predictive drop down that happens right underneath, and that's your search engine, right? Pinterest is exactly the same, and they are similar in the sense that they will give you your search results, but Pinterest is a visual search engine as opposed to Google being more of like a text heavy driven. Now they have photos that you can search as well, but Instagram is, you put a photo, people like it, they've commented on it instantly. You don't get that with Pinterest. Pinterest is a slow burn. You put something out, it probably won't catch fire. Sometimes within 3 weeks, really, it really depends.
Okay.
But many times 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or even longer than that. That's when things will really catch momentum. So that's a bit of a challenge with some people when they're so used to the Instagram world.
Yeah.
And then they come to Pinterest and they're like, why isn't it happening quicker? And, why am I not getting a lot of followers like, I normally would if I was on Instagram? And it's because of that. Something, like I said, you have to kind of help switch the mindset of some business owners. Like, it's not going to be like what you're used to on another platform.
Oh, that's so true. And actually, like, because I got on Pinterest about a month or two ago, and like it's definitely so I've gotten a lot of people downloading the freebies I have.
Yep.
So that's awesome. But that's true. I was kind of thinking like, oh, like when is Pinterest going to pick up? Like I have
Yep.
some courses I want to sell, all that stuff. But it is more of like a long-term thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. For more sustainable business, and that's truly what helps drive businesses right now. And switching from that mindset that you need to build a sustainable business and
Yeah.
Pinterest will help with that. That's what I love. And that's what I always try to reiterate with a lot of business owners.
Amazing. So if somebody were to be getting started on Pinterest, what kind
Mm.
of things would you recommend they start off with in terms of like, should they pin like freebies, videos? Like what do you think like works really well?
Yeah, so I always like to say go back to what you know with your target audience and what you're really trying to help solve for them. So if you know that your target audience has, let's say I'm a hairstylist and my particular like a problem with my clients is that they have oily hair. And this was actually something like I have a client who is actually um, has clients that have oily hair, and you really want to help. Excuse me. You really want them to pin items that will help their audience in that way. So you want to curate your boards, you want to curate your feed to help your people, but you also want to curate things that kind of expand out from that too. So if you know your clients will come to you for their hairstyling problems and needs, then you're also going to curate things. Maybe they like beauty, maybe they like home decor, like anything of that nature. You try to curate it. Think of it like an editorial calendar or a magazine, excuse me. And you really want to put these particular chapters in your your feed or in your account that's going to pique their interest and pull in other people from different audiences. Say, oh, she has actually something that I never even thought about for myself, and I do have oily hair, and oh, she's helping me solve my problems with my skin as well. And
I feel like this is information that like people don't really have at the beginning of their businesses. So
mhm,
the people who are in this podcast audience are usually like beginners getting
yeah,
started. So I think this is going to be really helpful for them. I totally understand if you guys have like, you're getting started, so it may not be like at the top of your list, but it's definitely something to think about. And something that would have really helped me in the beginning is if I would have organized my trainings more, organized my Instagrams and stuff, because when
mhm,
we started doing it back in the beginning of June, I think,
yeah,
I had to organize all that stuff. So I had to like organize everything into folders. It took me forever. So
yeah.
definitely, if you're getting started, just start like organizing your trainings and your freebies and stuff like that, because then when you're actually ready to go all in on it, you will have all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the big part of it. You getting organized, knowing what your client wants. And honestly, I always like to just say, just also pin things that you like too, because
Oh, yeah.
you don't even know, maybe your audience might like it too, and it might just pick up. So just don't stress about it too much. I always say just pin what you like, definitely pin what you know your audience is looking for, and just kind of go from there. And just you'll be able to tweak it later on. But initially starting out, I suggest those two.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so now we're gonna get into some questions about imposter syndrome. So I hope you're
Mhm.
ready.
Oh yeah.
What are your experiences with imposter syndrome, Christina?
Well, I mean, I think it's for sure it's always been there. Definitely looking back when I was younger, I always like I was in sports and being in school, you never really thought like I never really thought I was good enough in even the things that I was talented in. Um, I always my mind would always say, no, she can't be. Like, it can't be so. It's just a fluke that I'm good in, I don't know, like communication or skills, or communication skills, or sports or anything like that. But that's what the mind does. That's what the imposter syndrome does to you. It really makes you question and doubt your, like, who you truly are, your essence, your core. And you take that with you. You might evolve from it here and there as experiences happen in life. But it's still at the back of your mind. And even with me in this new, I guess, career path, because going formally what I'm educated in, I am a registered nurse. So I've gone to school. Yeah, I've gone to school, did the whole degree and everything. And and even imposter syndrome happened to me when I was in grad school.
Of course, yeah. Of course it does. It happens.
I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It was a terrible feeling. And I remember one time I didn't do too well on a paper because I was stressing so much, thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. Although I know I'm so confident as an RN. Like, give me a patient, no problem. No problem. I know how to do my job very well. And then when I started this career path, I was just like, what am I doing again? Like, I felt all those emotions coming up again. And it's a tough thing to tell yourself every day, you're all right. You know what you're doing. And I think I've heard you speak on it before, where you say you only have to be a step or two above another. You don't have to know it all, but still your mind, that imposter syndrome still plays on you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And like when I was in grad school, I remember being in the first class and I was sitting there and I was like, oh, like there was somebody who was talking about how a friend of his had tried to get into the class, but he didn't get in. And I was like, wait, I was like, they didn't just accept everybody that applied? They're like, no. And I was like, oh my God. Cause I was like, oh, they just accepted everybody. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because like, why do we think that to ourselves? You know what I mean? It's crazy. So who would you say your inner imposter is? What's her name? Now I know that you have been going through my course from Imposter Empowered. So I would love to know if you have gotten to stage yet in terms of like naming your inner imposter and really tackling the types of things that she is saying to you.
So this is such an amazing thing, because when I came to that Prettier course, I was like, I never thought to name my imposter. It never occurred to me.
Totally.
Ever. So I was like, okay, Bianca. Like, that was the first thing that came into my head.
Bianca's fucking perfect. Oh my God, yes.
And I have a friend named Bianca, so it's no offense to her, but that was the very first name that came in my head. No, I told her to. I said, Bianca, it's like, it literally was the first name that came in my head. So she's like, oh, girl, like, whatever.
That's so funny. So how do you think your inner imposter has specifically affected your business?
So outwardly, my business is doing very well. And maybe it's because I've really worked on my mindset throughout this whole transition. Still, I have days like I was even messaging one of my like business friends, and I'm like, I think I had a mental breakdown, and she's like, no, Christina, let's work on this. But you still get those moments.
Oh yeah, I had one like literally 3 days ago.
Yeah.
like I'm supposed to like, have it all together. I'm like, I absolutely don't. So you're not
right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. It's very reassuring because what you see on camera, it looks great. She has it together. She's getting all these clients and her business is booming. And
of course. Yeah.
But inwardly you're just like, even the smallest thing can set you off. And
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you just create stories out of nothing.
Yes.
You just create a story and then you act on a story. And that is something that like whenever I really dig deep with somebody when it comes to coaching them is like, it's okay that you're having the thoughts and the feelings. It's totally okay
Mm,
and it's totally normal. That's not the problem. We're not trying to get rid of your emotions. We're not trying to get rid of
okay.
these thoughts. It's the action and the self-sabotage that
Yes.
follows those things. You know what I
Oh
mean?
man. Oh man, it's so true. That self-sabotage is brutal.
Yeah. Oh my God, so true. So, I just wanted to ask, due to recent events, like specifically in the US with the whole Black Lives Awakening slash
Mhm.
movement, it really shed a light on the industry we're in. And you and I were like talking about it and the
Yes.
lack of diversity and inclusivity in the online space. And I know that, like, I think I was telling you this,
Hmm.
that when I was looking for an OBM like a while ago, I
Hmm.
could not find one person of color
Hmm.
who did that work. And I was like, but like, I didn't realize this until all of this stuff happened. And I was like, holy shit, like
Yeah.
this is huge. So I was just wondering if you could speak to it.
Yeah. So I already knew that getting into this, so even in the course that I took, I was the only Black woman. And I was like, okay, whatever, because this is just how it is.
Yeah.
I've always been the only Black woman in something. And
Wow.
so I just like brushed it off. But that was definitely the very first thing that I noticed. And I'm pretty sure other people did too, but
Mhm.
and then once I started getting on more clients, and I remember a client reached out to me. We were talking, and she specifically said to me, I have the hardest time finding a Pinterest expert who is Black. And
Wow.
that hit me. And I was just, but the funny thing is, I knew it. But when
Yeah.
she actually verbalized it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is an issue. And furthermore, I didn't even know somebody was specifically looking for me. I
Yeah.
really had no idea. So when I showed up, she just said, I'm like, hands up, praise God, I found you.
Oh my
She
God.
really did. And she was like so relieved to know, because every person that she searched, like Pinterest expert, it was a white person.
Wow.
And I mean, it's so crazy. Like we're out there. I don't even know how we are not even being searched. But what I do know is you are exposed to things, to what you see. So if I'm following somebody's feed or somebody's stories, and when they shout out somebody,
Mm-hmm.
most likely it's going to be another white individual or individual that's not of color. And that's how you become aware of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I even looked in my own feed, it was with a lot of people that were of like non persons of color. It's just because anybody that I saw and they shouted somebody out, I tended to follow them based off of what they were saying about that individual. So I can see how some people's feeds are not inclusive, but we are out there. And
100%.
you really, if you truly want to become inclusive in your space, in your environment, you're going to have to do the digging. You really are going to have to search for it. Don't think that it's just going to fall into your lap.
Yeah.
And I hear some business owners say, well, we just didn't know, we couldn't find. No, you're going to have to look for it. And
Yeah.
just like how if you are a size 12 and you need to look for a size 12 dress, and you are not going to stop until you find that perfect one, same thing.
Wow, I love that analogy. And like representation, this is the reason why it's so important, because as we grow up and as we are exposed to media and things
Hmm.
that we come into contact with, if people of color don't see themselves in these
Yeah.
things, that they start feeling like they either don't belong, or
Yes.
we act like this is how it's supposed to be, and we really only surround ourselves with what we're familiar with, you know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So it's the coaching industry and like this entrepreneurial industry online is no different. If you
Mm-hmm.
are constantly seeing the same color and only the same people doing the same shit, you're not exposed to other people and other ways of doing things. You know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's right.
And I know for me, it was like a huge wake up call because I thought that I was doing everything. And then I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything, because I feel like it was a really good awakening for a lot of business owners. I know that there was a lot of people who felt like they were being attacked and, all that
Mm-hmm.
shit, like really big coaches, we won't name
Mm-hmm.
them, but really big coaches who
Oh
just
yeah.
dropped the ball completely on it because they turned it around on themselves and were like, this is about me and I'm not doing anything wrong. And it's like, it's not fucking about you.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
about you at all. So I think that it was really needed and really necessary, because once you start expanding your network and you start really realizing that we all have some type of unconscious bias towards others that we need to just get rid of, and you can't do that unless you are aware of what you're doing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You're speaking the truth.
Oh, I'm so glad. Perfect. So finally, to end off the conversation, what are a couple things that you have learned that you would want to share with the audience after starting your online business? What are some key things that you think?
Yeah. So, oh man, there's a lot. So starting out, I learned that you really can't do it all. As much as you want to, you just can't. And there's no point in loading up your plate if you can't eat all the food, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So you're going to have to recognize within yourself early on, if something is making you feel uneasy, it's because you've either taken on too much, or it's something that needs to be removed from your service or something. You just need to reevaluate things. You need to seek help. If you really can outsource things, I mean, starting out, you don't really have the recurring revenue to always outsource things. So that is a definite challenge. But if you know someone in your friend or family circle that can help you out, take it right away if you can.
Totally. And
Yeah.
I actually outsourced to a VA before I could technically afford it. And I talk about that all the time because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to get to where I need to be. And I needed to invest from my future self's point.
That's
and
right.
that can be really difficult for someone who is like, well, I'm really living paycheck to paycheck, but it was really necessary for me to just get to that next level. And that's how I feel about basically investing in anything. If it's a little bit scary, if you feel like you want to shit your pants a little bit,
Yeah.
probably a good choice, because your next level self, that is what is going to get you to that next level,
Yeah. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Oh, girl, you're so good. It's like I'm just sitting here and I'm just listening to the gospel, and I'm just rocking in my chair.
God, I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with that. I also think you need to, if in your downtime, if you don't have clients coming on your roster as of yet, sit down and figure out systems. Oh my goodness. Figure out your onboarding and get it solid. And then your offboarding. All those things matter because the client experience is really key. You want, when your client leaves your hands and goes off into the world, you want them to say, man, that girl looked after me so well. I feel so good. I feel so confident. Your communication skills were on point, the best I ever had. That's what you want to leave with people. And even you can do a reverse engineering with that. Think of that awesome client experience that you want to leave with them, and then work backwards and say, how can I start from literally like plan A.
Wow.
So that's what I have done, and that's what I still continue to do, because you want people to feel amazing around you, and you want people to feel cared for. And maybe that's the nursing part of me. Like I just love, and but it's natural with anybody, but as a nurse, like I don't know. I just love, that's why I got into nursing, because I love making people feel amazing. I
Wow.
love that aspect.
That
It's like,
is so true.
yeah,
Like, because I feel like a lot of the time in the online space, we talk about like, oh, like your email marketing and this kind of
yeah,
marketing and Instagram and all that shit. But like, it comes down to the client experience.
absolutely.
It totally does. Like, and I think if somebody is listening to this and they're like, oh, but like, I can't implement a system like this because I don't have any clients yet. But
Hmm.
when you're doing this stuff on the back end, you are really solidifying that belief that you
That's it.
will have clients, that you will be using this system.
That's right.
And I wish I did that in the beginning, because I was just like, well, when I get that client, when it,
Hmm.
but you are solidifying that, nope, I'm going to get this organized.
That's right.
It's just the same thing with like taxes and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Like, figure out your accounts and all that stuff before you actually have the money,
that's right.
because when it's organized and you feel really good about it, your success is inevitable. Like, it's going to
Absolutely.
happen.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, I feel like I hear a lot about like people being unhappy with the service that they were given, and in the industry that we're in, it's really normal for people to sell high ticket, but you have
Yes.
to take care of your clients. If you're going to
Yes.
sell high ticket, you have to make sure the onboarding is smooth. You have to make sure they're happy. You have to make sure you're getting their feedback. Like, you can't
Hmm.
start and be like, okay, great, like it's all over with. Like, get
Yeah.
feedback and get constructive criticism that will help your business. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And don't take, I mean, unless they're attacking you personally, that's a totally different story. But whatever they're saying, do not, it's hard. We're all human. Don't take it personally, whatever they say. It's not a personal attack against you. If they say, I just felt like confused when I started, I didn't know what to expect. Don't take it personally, because
Exactly.
it's just to help you to do better, you know? And we all know this, but like I said, the natural thing for anyone to do is to become defensive, and you're just like, excuse me, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, it's so normal to make it about you and make it about,
Mm.
oh, this means that like my business is crappy or I'm not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to realize that, again, that is just your lizard brain trying to keep you safe. It's just like, oh my God, somebody hates us. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
going overdrive. Um, but I really feel like you don't know what you don't know until you learn
That's right.
it. So
That's right.
it's okay. And as well, if you're working with people too, like everyone is different, so they're going to have different needs. So that's why you need to be on top of really collecting
Right.
that feedback and really like working with them, because that's what these relationships are, is you're
That's right.
working with people. You're not talking at them. You're working with.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh my God. This has been so good. Thank you so
Mm.
much for being on, Christina. Can you
Absolutely. Yeah, I loved it.
Oh, it's good. I'm so glad. And can you tell us where to find you on social media or anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at Cultivation Lounge. You will find me there. I also have another account called West of 100. Um, but Cultivation Lounge is where you will find me most. That's where I talk about all things Pinterest. And my website is westof100interiors.com. And yeah, I also have a Facebook group. If you want to join that. Anything, if you go onto my Instagram and there's a link in my bio, you'll see all the details there.
Amazing, amazing. So thank you so much again for being on. This was awesome, and I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast with me, Jillian Perrick. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram story. And don't forget to tag me at Your Coach Jill. Of course, I'd love for you to rate the podcast 5 stars and leave a review. And if you screenshot your review and send it to me at Your Coach Jill on Instagram, I'll send you a free gift. At the very least, make sure you follow me on Instagram, again at Your Coach Jill, for tons of free content, strategies, and inspo. See you next time.